will be out there tonight. Lauren Hall joined by Brad Soner here as we get ready to kick off what will now be our 4th day of racing here in Charleston, a new venue for USA Cycling Road National Championships. And I got to say, things looking really good for the next 4 years here.
Yeah, it's a beautiful course. Walked the course earlier today and just really looking forward to a completely different race scenario playing out today.
A really unique course here, 6 corners, unlike the past courses we've had the last few years. No hills on this one. This is really a pure Criterium course today.
Yes, I was actually talking to a couple of the athletes earlier, and this is just straight up positioning crit, and you definitely know how to sprint out of the corner and knowing your position well going into a couple of these really tight corners and making sure your teammates are looking after you.
Some evening racing here as well. They have been quiet for most of the day. We'll have our elite women up first. They will race 75 minutes. We'll move to laps after we get an average lap time, and then our men up after that for 90 minutes of elite men's racing, your 2 races on tap here this evening. So little rain in the forecast. It's been kind of spotty here with some scattered showers, we'll call it. It's still a little muggy out there, but we're hoping it stays dry for the riders today.
Yeah, and again, this is some of the questions that have to be asked. You know, is Sunday a bit more important to some of these riders than not? So if it does rain, see if some of those ladies may pull out tonight, but I expect everyone to finish today.
Live coverage for our Criteriums tonight, and then we'll be back with you on Sunday here on FloBikes for the Elite Men's and Elite Women's Road Race National Championships. We'll have a day off on Saturday, a little recovery from the Criterium tonight, and then we're back to road racing live here on Flo on Sunday. Lauren, let's get right into it. Talk about some of the favorites here. I think you have to look at the defending champ, the now 73-time national champion, Corinne Lebecki, last year's champion.
No doubt. Corinne Lebecki, just someone that we're always going to be talking about as long as she is racing. She's very proud to wear that Stars and Stripes, and she is a singular rider here tonight, which is going to be a key factor. Again, we're talking about this course last year winning with defending on that hill. That will not be the case tonight, as it's a flat-out course.
Well, of course, you can't talk about last year's race without talking about Kendall Ryan's second place in that sprint to the line. It was contentious, I guess we'll call it. It was a little tight. There was some arguing going on by one of the riders on the finish line, but I don't think we'll have that issue here. This is really going to be a race to the line here. Again, pure sprinter's course on this one.
Look, Kendall Ryan definitely is a competitor, and that is something that we like to see, and she didn't like losing, and I think tonight we're going to hear a little bit more from her.
Corinne Lebecki, always the wild card here. The difference, this year she did a little more Criterium racing in the lead up to this one. Spent a few days down at Speed Week down south, kind of prepping, and also I think showing off that national champions jersey. It's always tough when a European-based rider wins a national championship. They don't get the opportunity to race a lot here, so it was really nice that Corinne and her team were able to kind of show off that jersey at least a few times before she may have to give it up today.
Right. You're always wanting to win a Stars and Stripes jersey. It's something to be very proud of, and like you said, she wanted to come back to the United States, represent that jersey, do it proud, and hopefully tonight she can repeat, or we'll see if Kendall Ryan doesn't have something to say about that.
What can Corinne Lebecki do on a course like this where there is no hill where she's going to be able to win on power? This one is really about technique, sprinting. There are some tight corners out there. Bike handling is going to be much more important this year.
No doubt. Corinne is definitely going to have to be race savvy. Again, being a singular rider out here, no teammates. She's got her race cut out for her, but I think she's definitely up for the challenge. And if anyone knows how to be savvy and pick the right moves, it's Corinne.
Here's your start-finish line just along the banks of the Kanawha River. They head out to turn 1 for what is the relatively easy corner, we'll call it. The real heavy turns come like turns 3, 4, 5. That's really where this race is going to be won and lost.
Love Courier Street running into Hale Street. That is definitely going to be a definitive point in the race. You may not win the race at that corner, but you can definitely lose the race. And through the start-finish, it is a long start-finish straight. So you have to be super savvy in where you're sprinting, on what side of the road you're sprinting, and what timing you're sprinting is going to be crucial for tonight.
Is there a perfect place to be out of this last corner? Do we know yet where you want to be?
Yeah, I mean, last night, and you can usually use some of the U23 and junior races as a bit of a guide to how the race will play out. And Gavin winning last night solo, that definitely tells you that a break can stick. But yeah, if you're going to be a sprinter out of this last corner, I'm going to say at least second or third wheel back. That's usually you always want someone to just take you right to the line, Brad. So It'd be nice if someone can do that for Corinne, but she's going to have to play off of others.
76 riders on the start list total. This will be a big field. It's nice to see big fields returning to our Elite Criterium National Championships here. Obviously, the biggest names get the lowest numbers, the defending champs, second place last year, but there's a lot of names on this list that are going to have legitimate shots at a podium today.
No doubt, and I'd also like to say, like, CCB is going to be here. DNA Pro Cycling is also going to be a team we're going to talk a lot about tonight. Fount Cycling has had a great spring. Lily Williams, Ruth Edwards of the Human Powered Health team. So we, if we're keying off of one person, it's just because that's who won last year. But look, it is a stack field, like you're talking about, Brad. We're going to be talking about everybody tonight. Siniska's also add that group in there. It's going to be a stack field, stacked race, dynamic race. I cannot wait.
Plenty of wild cards in this field as we're just about 10 minutes away from race start. They are just about ready to start introducing riders, which means we got a little time to take a quick break here on FloBikes, and when we come back, we'll meet your front row from the 2024 USA Cycling Criterium National Championships.
I ride because I love it.
I ride for the friendships that develop on the bike.
I met all my friends through cycling.
I ride my bike because it's part of my soul.
I ride because it's awesome.
I ride to find stories. I ride to find rhythm in my life.
I ride because it makes me happy.
I ride for adventure.
I ride to be a part of something that's bigger than myself.
You've got a premium carbon frame, like Van Aert. So aerodynamic it defies the laws of physics. And the smooth group set, like Van der Poel. Shifting, braking, precisely. You've got the same fast wheels as Vingegaard, with the matte black finish, like Marianne Vos. You've got a sleek helmet like Romain Bardet, cutting through the air like a falcon. And the coolest kid on the peloton, like Carapaz. And the passion and courage of Cannonball Cavendish. Yeah, you got it all. But you haven't got the cotton tires the pros ride. Until now.
Welcome back. There is your defending champion, Corinne Lebecki, getting the #1 call-up and #1 on her back as she looks to defend the Stars and Stripes jersey. But she's got some close competition. Next to her, Chloe Patrick, 3rd place last year, U23 national champion, now racing with the elite field. This is going to be really exciting to see if Patrick can improve on her 3rd place last year.
No, Chloe Patrick has had a good spring this year. Again, she's already winning races, and excited to see her right here with the front row. Looks calm, cool, and collective.
She's going to have one of her Siniska cycling teammates with Catherine Sarkisov up to the front row. And then CCB up there with Ella Brenneman, another strong young rider, winner of the 17-18 national championships back in 2023, and now graduating to the elite ranks as a U23. Lily Williams up next, some Olympic talent on the front row here.
Yeah, named to the long list Olympic team, and again, she's come by the booth a couple of times, and someone else who's just, nice and calm and ready to race.
Next comes Skylar Schneider, another Criterium specialist with a road resume. She's raced in Europe. She's raced with the best, a Pan Am champion, but has been targeting the Criterium. She's going to be one to watch as well. Next comes Mia Asseltine, the competitive edge racing rider, wearing number 32. She'll have Cassidy Hickey next to her. Now riding with the CCB Levine Law Group team. And then comes Alexis Magner, the sister of second place last year, Kendall Ryan. Now Alexis Magner, and then she should have Lauren Zorner next to her.
Again, yeah, and I would put Alexis Magner definitely in the hat for tonight's win. She's come off good form Speed Week just a couple weeks ago. Her and her sister Kendall, again, you never know who's going to try and go for the sprint out of the two of them. So it'll be an interesting race for both of them tonight.
All right, underway for 75 minutes of racing. Didn't get to all the call-ups on that front row. Kaya Schmidt was called up, Shayna Pallas, Aubrey Drummond, Olivia Cummins, and Andrea Sear all getting call-ups on the front row, or at least as close to the front row as they could fit today. I think we had a spacing issue on the line.
Look, they want to protect their space early. They've been rolling around checking out the course, and to start the race at the front, it just kind of helps shake out the nerves, Brad, get you settled in, and go ahead and get clipped in and not have to worry about anyone else in front of you.
And already starting to see riders moving up left-hand side of the picture here. You see DNA bringing some riders up to the front. A team like DNA is going to have the numbers to play tonight. There are sort of a few different types of riders in this race. You're either someone like Corinne Lebecki, who's basically on your own, or you're one of these Criterium teams who's going to have 4, 5, 6 riders to start, like DNA, Fount, some of the bigger squads. How do you play that? If you're a team, what do you do? And if you're Corinne Lebecki all by yourself, I know she probably doesn't need a whole lot of advice as the defending champ. But how does a solo rider strategy different from a team strategy?
Yeah, that's a great question, Brad. And, the teams talking to DNA Pro Cycling as they were rolling up, if they can roll something off the front and you start to look around and you look at your numbers and who's with you, you have to be race savvy and know who you've pulled up the road. And then you got to check yourself. You got to check yourself to see if you have good legs, if it's the right mix, if it's the right people, and you have to check your ego. If there's someone in that group that you think may potentially beat you, you have to know how to call it and say, no, you know what, this isn't right. I want to go back. We need to reshuffle this. Needs to be with another teammate. And Corinne, on the other hand, basically has to know who to follow, who she thinks. She has to hedge her bet on who she thinks is going to be the most threat to her, anyone up the road, or play the gamble of this is all going to come back together. Another team is going to want this back together, and just hope that team does weld things back together. So a lot of, we always compare bike racing to gambling or poker face or chess, and that is the name of the game, is playing these on the bike games.
We got a little preview last night with some junior and U23 racing, and we saw really both scenarios play out. A late race breakaway for Gavin Lady worked out in his favor. A solo break at 1 lap to go ended up winning the bike race for him, but saw some field sprints as well. So both methods are viable ways to win the national championship here.
And that's exactly the thing. So Gavin goes up the road knowing that Brody McDonald was sitting in the pocket, right? So again, that's the game that we play, and that's what these ladies are going to do tonight.
We'll be looking for moves like that from DNA. Certainly going to have the numbers here, and sending a pretty clear message early on that they intend to be aggressive on the front. Sent pretty much the whole squad up to the front immediately, and immediately getting to work up here. So those are the white jerseys with kind of pink stripes. You see a few of those up there. In fact, they're going 3 deep over on the right-hand side of your screen. LA Sweat moving up as well. And then Human Powered Health. This is another jersey that we don't see a lot in the American peloton, a primarily European-based team. So nice to see names like Lily Williams back racing here in the U.S.
And Ruth Edwards, the two, again, it's just the two of them. And these are kind of like the wild cards. Like, when you have the 1s and 2s, this is where the Fount Cycling, the CCB, the Siniska, and DNA Pro Cycling, that's a wild card for them. They know these are strong riders. They know they can't let them up the road, but can you take one of them up the road and take your chance against a World Tour rider? You might as well try. So, these first couple of laps, Brad, I will imagine that most of these women that are coming up here and rolling through, it's the nerves. Yeah. It's a national championship. It doesn't matter what race it is. You want to win that jersey. It is such a point of pride. And, we're going to have a couple laps of just nervous, hard riding before the tactics really start to set in.
I think that's what Lily Williams is doing here, using Ruth Edwards to just keep her out of trouble. Just keep her near the front, make sure that if something does happen in one of these tight corners, she's not caught behind it. Safest place to be in the bike race.
That's right.
Now Siniska going to put some riders up on the front. Again, this is another powerhouse team with Euro Pro Road Palmars, but how do they do in the Criterium is the million-dollar question.
And Siniska, they're a U.S. team, but they are based over in Europe and France, and they have very powerful riders for their team. So just had Cara O'Neill roll to the front right there. Again, just, hey everybody, we're going to put our face up there, put our jersey up there, let everyone know in this peloton that we are here to represent and to race.
Goldman Sachs ETFs getting up to the front as well. They're going to be in the dark blue jerseys out there. Another solid squad. They're going to roll deep here, and plenty of Criterium racing under their belt. They were down at that Speed Week run just a few days ago, I guess I should say. They're going to set up on the front here. A couple riders already coming unglued off the back.
One Velocious rider off the back out of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I would imagine she's more of a development rider, so I think the nerves probably got the best of her. And once you're off the back, you're kind of out of that draft, Brad. So again, we're talking about these first couple laps, nervous, fast racing energy being expended. So if you're kind of spit out the back, that's pretty tough for her.
About to get faster as we see some big names coming to the front here. DNA, I think, putting Kim Lucci up on the front, do a little bit of work here. And look what it's doing to the riders at the back, out of the saddle, suffering from that snap that DNA's putting on the front right now. Looks like Legion going to make their way up to the front as well. Little shift in the team makeup from last year, talking about that Legion and Austin Outlaws program, Miami Blazers, the sister duo being broken up, Kendall and Alexis, and then the other pair of sisters, Skylar and Sam. A really unique time in American bike racing to have two pairs of sisters out there racing at the top of their game, and those are like two of the favorites in this race.
Yeah, Legion of Los Angeles started, and their bread butter is Criterium Racing, so and yeah, who better to have on your team than the sisters, the Sam and Skylar. Again, you talk about Alexis and Kendall, and you can equally talk about Sam and Skylar as just being the 1-2 punch of never really knowing who's going to go for the sprint. And what a beautiful problem to have for them, just to always keep that mixed up. Here we go, DNA Pro Cycling. They're ready to race. This is Kim Lucci right here on the front, ready to make things go a little bit harder. She's already shaking her head a little bit in disbelief, like, hey, look, let's go. But Kim, yeah, you got a long time to race tonight.
Lucci with less than ideal preparations coming into this one. She had some travel difficulty getting here, but glad to see her out with her bike and on the front of the bike race.
Yeah, right. Maybe she's getting that energy out, that travel energy out of her legs now.
Oh, and they're going to go again. They are just going to keep this tempo as high as they can all night. DNA just lifting riders to the front. They are repeatedly lifting the tempo here. So that's going to be the story for a lot of this. You see Kaya Schmidt taking a look here. All the big names recognize what's happening here, and they know that this is a selection being made by DNA.
Kaya Schmidt coming back from Europe, I'd say, and she races for Liv Alula-Jayco, so only 21 years old in the World Tour. I'd like to say she's doing really well over there, maybe not getting the results right now just because she's in the deep end and just really trying to cut her teeth over there in World Tour and get that experience. So glad she's here tonight and looking for a good result from Kaya.
It's going to be Kaya, third position, number 21 there, just out of the corner. And I wouldn't expect her to go any less than like top 20 tonight. I think that'll be the same with Corinne Lebecki up there. I wouldn't expect to see even Lily Williams and Ruth Edwards. They're going to try and stay as close to the front as they can.
This is the corner that I'm a little concerned with, Brad. This Quarrier right-hand turn onto Hale. You can kind of see the outside of the peloton right here. Every time the speed is high and the peloton is all together, that left side kind of curb lip kicks out a little bit. and grabs you a bit by surprise. And it's a tight point. What you can't really tell on TV is it goes from a big wide road into that right-hand tight turn, and there's only so many of the group that can fit through there, so it's a pinch point for sure.
There's a little split coming. Goldman Sachs moving up. Some of the Fount riders going to try and get there. In fact, Fount going to get to the front here. I think that's Alexi Snover taking a look now. They have had a great year this year. Fount has really kicked off this 2024 season in incredible fashion with Gila, Redlands. They had a great first sort of quarter of this season, and hopefully they can carry some of that momentum into nationals here.
No doubt that team led by Jennifer Wheeler, directed by Jennifer Wheeler, so she is definitely a passionate director, and she's going to have high expectations for her riders tonight.
It's Fount in the green right here. You see just one jersey, but there's some reinforcements coming up the right-hand side of the field. And then the omnipresent ASO sleeve of the Williams Racing Devo teams. Group really not stringing out much here early on, but there is a constant fight to get to the front. Every time I see that group spread out, there's riders moving up either side trying to get there. Seems like the big teams are controlling this one pretty well early on here.
Yeah, and I think the ones and twos, the Kayas and the Schneiders and Alexis Magner and Kendall Ryan, they have to buy their time. They have to just be patient, and sometimes that can be the most frustrating and hard thing to do, is just sit there and let things come to you. A lot of times you want to bring the race to these women, but you don't have any other teammates. So if it all goes south and you have bad legs for a bit, which you can come out of, you have to be careful. You just can't spend your energy, and unfortunately you have to wait and let the race come to you. And so they're just going to be like sharks in water, just waiting for their time, just waiting for that blood to drop. And I think it'll come about halfway through this race.
We see just a little bit of elevation change on this one. I don't think there's enough to really call it a hill, but there is a little bit of a downhill out of turn 5 into 6 right here.
I love this course. I absolutely love it, and I would itch to be racing this as a sprinter. It's perfect.
Yeah, a lot of riders in bad position here as tempo going to pick up again.
Looks like Monarch Cycling on the front.
Quick look over the shoulder to see who's with her.
Yeah, she looks over and says, wait, everybody's still there.
See a little bump on this course too. It's a raised pedestrian crossing. The back of the field just went over. It's enough to buck you a little bit on the bike if you're at speed and not expecting it.
Yeah, what's beautiful about this course is that everyone's already pre-ridden it, mostly on open roads, so you don't really get a sense. You can get an idea of where you want to start your sprint, what side of the road you want to be on, but you don't get a sense for what it feels like until you're in the race scenario. So there's manhole covers, there's holes, and again, when you're pre-riding it and there's no stress, you can kind of sit back on your bike a bit and go around these things, but once you're in the race, it's all bets off, and you just have to roll with the peloton. And so again, just kind of absorbing all that first year here in Charleston and getting a sense for everything and how it plays out, because really all they have to go on is the races that happened yesterday.
DNA staying on the front here. Certainly the most aggressive team so far out there tonight. Still a lot of racing to go. Seems like those riders at the back in. So going to be a lot of accordion effect going on out there in the field. Back of the race is not where you want to be on a day like today. Field back through the line. Really not seeing the single file racing yet. It's sort of this like elite group of 20 riding at the front, really just taking turns, keeping a relatively high tempo and putting these riders at the back in trouble. Part of that is maybe because everybody is just constantly fighting to get to the front. It's eliminating that single file formation.
It's still the washing machine effect, as we like to talk about. There aren't any real tactics played out quite yet. It's just you roll up to the front as your team and represent, kind of get a sense for things. And yeah, at the front there, it's a little bit hard to be up there because you're essentially breaking that wind for the peloton behind you. So then you drift back, and then the next group kind of filter up to the front. So right now things are just status quo.
Human Powered Health doing a nice job keeping Williams up there. How long can Ruth Edwards do this tonight? I mean, is this a 75-minute effort for Ruth Edwards here?
The
Look,
gauge on her face. Again, I think the two of them are keying in a bit more on Sunday, to be honest with you, Brad. But if the race comes to them, they'll gladly participate. But, I'm glad they're here in the race, but I think she's kind of just going to wait until she again filters back a bit. And we're only 16 minutes in. Again, we're talking about the nervous energy is still there. I mean, these are elite endurance athletes. They're not even thinking about being a bit tired until after the race, essentially after an hour, right? So it's still just kind of like shaking things out.
We talked with Lily a little bit. She was on her way to the start line today saying it's just like a track race, right? It's just like a mass start track race. And she said, yeah, but there's corners. That's the biggest thing that she's got to adjust for. So luckily she's got her wing woman, the loyal lieutenant, up front, and pretty clear who they're going to be working for tonight, I guess, or what the role is. Maybe we'll see them switch and just keep each other out of trouble at the front of the bike race, but looks like Ruth is working for Lily right now.
Nationals does bring a whole different dynamic to the race. They've spent the spring racing against World Tour. They've been at Redlands and Tour of the Gila. This peloton has been around each other, and then all of a sudden you wave a national championship in someone's face, and kind of like some of the tactics kind of go out the window. Some of the nerves are definitely there. I keep talking about that. I'm going to talk about that a lot, your nerves, and just how important this race is, and how important wearing the Stars and Stripes is. One, representing your team, representing your community, and all the hard work that you put into this training. Like, everybody's watching. Everybody wants you to win. You're here. So it just adds another dynamic to the peloton nervousness and moving around. So, you're not going to see Ruth or Lily go too far back just out of safety factor.
You can see how slow it gets at the back, too. That means the snap out of each corner is going to take even more out of your legs the further you are towards the back of the group. So front of the race, not only the safest place to be, but the smoothest as well. If you're looking for a power file without too many ups and downs, well, first of all, this is the wrong discipline to be in, but if you're trying to minimize the ups and downs of your power profile, riding at the front's the best way to do it. DNA doing a beautiful job here. Fount going to take over here as well. This is the racing that we've become accustomed to in the women's Criterium peloton over the last year.
And a lot of times you kind of want to look around and be like, well, I don't want to be the first one to make the attack. And, who was that first one? Fount Cycling definitely says, hey, you know what, let's give this a try. They want to get up the road as well. I think that they fare better in a break than they would in a field sprint. And they're going to probably look to DNA Cycling. They're going to look to CCB, and they're going to look to Synisca as like, hey, let's work a little bit together and see if we can't get something up the road.
Fount starts 6 riders in the race today. Danielle Odino, Katerina Gregorio, Minoru Minagawa, Alexi Snover, Marjorie Ronaldo, and Elizabeth Dixon. in the dark green jerseys for Fount. But they're going to battle DNA on the front here, who also brought a stacked roster to the national championship. Talked about Kim Lucci doing work on the front earlier. She'll be working with Holly Breck, Olivia Cummins, Megan Easler, Heather Fisher, Michaela McPherson, and Shayna Powless. All in those white DNA Pro Cycling kits.
Another jersey that will be awarded tonight is the U23 jersey. So there's kind of two races happening here. And that'll shake out, and we'll talk about that a little bit more throughout the race. But yeah, a couple of different dynamic races happening. DNA Pro Cycling going forward again.
And she's going to string it out, get some riders single file up front as the attacks continue to flow here. Just over 20 minutes into our 75-minute race, 60 minutes for these riders. We're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we'll have more live racing from the 2020. Welcome back. Looking at a single file line here on the front as DNA has taken over while we were in break and putting some real riders in trouble at the back now.
Not everybody can be on the front at the front, and that's a product. Again, I just talk about this course and how much I love it. You can't sit at the back all race and expect to be at the finish. You have to have good position here, and we are seeing the unfortunate bit of lots of riders out of position and really struggling to get back into this group.
And now you're seeing why Ruth Edwards was doing so much work to get up to the front. Now you're seeing why DNA was all hands on deck, why Fount was trying to get their riders up to the front. They knew this moment was coming, and you got to be on the right side of the split if you want a shot at the finish.
You're exactly right, Brad. Looks like a pretty rough corner through there. It's not very smooth. And again, it just kind of wears on you a little bit. It adds a little factor to being in the peloton and being close, because you kind of get bumped around on the road, and you get the chance of actually running into a couple of your athletes beside you left and right. So you know, everyone's a bit cautious through that turn right there. DNA Pro Cycling off the front right here. This looks like Holly Breck, maybe?
I'm going to agree. We'll get confirmation. And now Breck going to take advantage of these high speeds and a little bit of chaos on the back and try and get off the front. This is the right move for DNA. If you've got the numbers, you've got to send at least a few riders up the road tonight.
No doubt. DNA would definitely like one or two more with them, but she'll take it for now.
Siniska not looking too worried about it around the corner. They're going to let that one roll. But now Holly Breck stuck in a pretty tough position here all by herself.
No doubt. I see someone trying to come across there. It looked like Fount and basically being covered right here. DNA Pro Cycling helping her rider out by having someone come across with this Fount Cycling rider. Ruth Edwards sitting second wheel. Legion of Los Angeles right behind them.
Now the concern becomes they may be bringing too many riders up to them. This is a big group. All seemingly work to bring Breck back. Goldman Sachs ETF's going to get up there too.
If DNA Cycling makes contact with her teammate, she then needs to go on a counterattack.
You see just sitting on the wheel of Kaya Schmidt right there. I think that might be Andrea Sear, the new signing for Team Goldman Sachs ETF's Racing.
Yeah, DNA should have already gone by now, so buying her time a little bit doesn't help the tactics too terribly much. Look like Shayna Palace sitting third wheel right there. It may not be her night. Maybe she is meant to just sit in the pocket and just be in a good position. If you are in good position and someone tries to go across, you might as well cover it for your teammates, and that's just that's the best case scenario, instead of asking one of your teammates to come 5, 6, 7 wheels back to make a big jump like that. It's kind of a gamble, so that's well played.
Now we just wait for the counter. Great crowd turnout here in Charleston as well. Really impressive first-year host here. Sometimes it takes a few years for the word to get out how great of a party this really is, but they got it figured out here in Charleston.
And how nice is everybody? I've had multiple people from the community ask me, are you here for the bike race? Yes. We are so glad you're here. It's great. Everyone has been so welcoming. We're having a great time.
Riders using this opportunity to grab some bottles, get some gels. Good chance to move up as well with a little reset in this field after that DNA attack.
That's a good point, Brad. When the racing is on, there's not a whole lot of time to really remove your hands from the bars, because everyone's kind of moving left and right and you're braking or accelerating out of these turns. So yeah, when you get your opportunity, you got to take them to take on some fluid and some calories.
Here's a move. Maybe a William, check that. I think it's going to be another Monarch jersey. So now second move going away. Let's see if anyone goes with this one.
I think that looks like Shannon Koch of Kingdom Elite Racing right there. She's been in the peloton for a bit.
This is definitely a Kingdom Elite jersey here. And same thing, not going to get any help. A breakaway's worst nightmare.
Yeah. That or the entire peloton comes across
right
to you.
It's the right move, though, again, for Kingdom Elite. If you've got a chance to try and take some of these World Tour riders with you, if you've got a few riders in this field who you think maybe aren't interested in a sprint and you want to go with them, might as well try it. Kingdom Elite starts 4 with Gabrielle Dixon, Madeline Wayman, Valentina Hernandez, and Shannon Koch here.
Yeah, that's definitely Shannon Koch right there.
And now Koch just got to stay on the gas. What is the tipping point, Lauren, for a solo rider away? I mean, when do you cut your losses? What is the stop loss in this scenario?
No doubt, if you have a chance to give it a couple of laps and you don't have any more than 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 20 seconds you can stay out there, then you're on the fence. But the beauty, I mean, we've seen this. We've seen that, you know, Gavin Lady last night won solo, but granted, he didn't win until the end of the race, but he was solo midway through the race and then was able to recover in the peloton and go again. So, you know, you look at that for historical data, looking towards tonight's race and how that can play out, and Shannon's going to take her chance. And Shannon is more of a time trialist effort kind of rider. So, you know, this is where she's hedging her bets for her team, saying, you know what, I'm going to be best up the road. I'm not someone that everybody's looking at. She didn't have a call up. She isn't someone we've talked about. So, yeah, no one in the peloton's really looking for her to win. No one here tonight was looking for her to win. And you know what? She's taken that and saying, you know what? I'm going to use that information to my advantage, try and get up the road. And she's creating a bit of a gap and a bit of confusion, not confusion in the peloton, but really who's going to go? Who's going to make that move? And here it is. It's DNA Pro Cycling moving up that right side, attacking up the right, bringing a Legion of Los Angeles with her. And if they get up there, this is going to be all back together again.
Shannon Koch, a Masters national champion last year, won her age category, but racing in the elites this year in 2024. So speaks to the wide range of talents in here. And again, riders from sort of both ends of the spectrum, European pros doing this full time, and then there's full-time 9-to-5 workers, mothers, people who are not full-time professional cyclists, let's say, who have made it to the elite level of racing here.
You're exactly right, and that's a great point, Brad. I mean, we've got multiple disciplines racing here. You've got mountain bikers, you've got cyclocross racers in the fall and winter that want to cross over and race road, gravel. You know, it's all here. Anything on two wheels, everyone's participating and pinning a number and racing. And kind of all the ages too, like you're talking about. So a ton of background going into the race tonight and into the peloton makes the dynamics so much more. Shannon still has a pretty good gap. She would like to be out of sight and put a little bit more pressure under the peloton. You know, we're talking about that breaking point, looking back, you can kind of get a gauge, like who's chasing me down and why. So there's also a building after turn 1, in between turn 1 and turn 2. It's a long straightaway, and there's a glass building. You can kind of look into the building and kind of get a reflection look and get a sense for your form and see who's coming across.
A couple riders realizing here this may be a serious move for Shannon Koch up the road, so they're going to try and send a couple up with her. DNA sparking it. Goldman Sachs going to go with them, and the New Jersey of LA Sweat also getting up there. So now Koch about to have some company. That gold medal ride last year in the Masters National Championship won out of a breakaway. She almost lapped the field. She got almost 3/4 way around the course, almost caught the back of the group. So she's a breakaway rider through and through. That's how she's going to try and win this bike race. Not going to work out this time, but you can't win if you don't play.
That's right, and not right now. Again, maybe she's going to get back there and see when she attacked, how she attacked, and reassess the game plan.
Saw the first thing everyone did once that catch was made was start looking over their shoulders for the counter. They know it's coming. It's just a question of who and when will counter the Shannon Koch move, as the Kingdom Elite Racing rider brought back, and now they're all back together.
You see who's at the back of this peloton right here? That's Ruth Edwards, Human Powered Health. You know, we saw her at the front and kind of gave this look on her face of, whew, like this is, I don't know, she just wasn't feeling good, her legs weren't there, or, but yeah, she's gone to the back now.
Now Fount really going at it here.
And they should. They don't have anything to lose and everything to gain. They have been so dynamic in their spring racing this year, and coming away with some really good results, and not really a team that we're looking to do that, to have those results. But Jennifer Wheeler always finds these women, you know, and says, hey, try bike racing, you're gonna love it. And it takes them a little while to figure out, you know, a couple of races to figure it out, and then they get the confidence and, hey, I belong at the front, why not? And, you know, that's exactly what they're doing here.
It's amazing how much untapped talent is out there that has been uncovered in the women's fields. Let me direct you to Taylor Knibb, the winner of our women's individual time trial, who gave bike racing a shot and walked away with a national championship and an Olympic bid.
I think it's wonderful. She was at the time trial last year, and she was 4th in the time trial last year, and flew a bit under the radar. You know, we were looking more and talking a lot more about the Kristen Faulkners of the world, and the Lauren Stevens of the world, and for Taylor Knibb to come in and grab that, you know, that's a testament, one, to triathlon and what a sport that is, and to Taylor's strength. So yeah, you never know who's in the peloton. And again, we talk about, again, national championships. It brings the cream of the crop to the top. Yeah, it's a whole different race weekend.
Fount looking around on the front with some reinforcements coming. This is maybe the hardest part of Criterium racing, Lauren, the constant battle to get to the front. I know I don't need to tell you about this, but that's where the real effort comes in these races. You see riders on the front, but the work that they did to get there, that's the real work of the night.
And I just saw someone in the peloton that we haven't talked a lot about. It's Chloe Patrick of Synisca, winner of the U23 jersey last year. Strong rider. She's kind of one of my favorites for tonight, and we haven't talked about her because she hasn't been at the front, and you're talking on that. You have to have the confidence to know that your peloton around you is going to be safe, and that you know how to ride your bike, and that they do too, and trust the system, trust that everyone's going to keep it upright and make good choices.
You got to remember, you talk about Chloe Patrick, the U23 national champion. That came on a third place in the Elite National Championships. They raced together but are scored separately. She had an incredible ride. That means that she was third to Kendall Ryan and Corinne Lebecki last year, which really says something about Chloe Patrick. So that'll be a name to keep an eye out for as well. The Synisca cycling rider, kind of a white chest, orange sleeves for the Synisca team jersey. Fount, CCB. I think this is a work hard, be humble jersey into third. That's another team that could really have an upset result here. And then the chaos being left behind them with these riders just trying to hang on.
Just hearing out there that it is raining a bit. I see a couple of umbrellas, and you can't really see that on TV at all. So interesting dynamic add in to the race tonight. This is your scariest scenario as a bike racer, that it starts raining during the race, because you don't really know, how to pressure those tires up, where you want to be going into it. You can't take a free lap to lower your tire pressure, so you're really stuck with whatever you've got right now. No, and I guess the good thing is that it has been raining off and on almost this whole week now, so it's not like it's been dry and just a fresh bit of rain on the road. So I wouldn't say that there's necessarily like oil on the road, but what if you look at the road surface, you go from concrete to asphalt. You also have these brick pavers as the crosswalks. So as you're setting up for the apex of these turns, you're right at those brick crosswalks, and that can prove to be quite treacherous. And again, we look back, you use last night's race as an example. There were some crashes in the race last night, and I would imagine it was due to rain. So something to look out for, and not ideal at all. You could just see the sheen off the road from the motorcycle headlight following the race. Fount going to get on the radio here, looking for a little bit of help, a little bit of info for Minoru Minagawa. Spent a couple laps up here on the front, and I'm going to guess she's saying, I would like to spend no more laps on the front. Potentially asking, hey, should I keep this race hard? Is anyone going to come up to the front? A couple of different questions at hand there. You see the urgency has left this group a little bit. Not as many riders moving up the outside here. They're starting to settle in. And we see Ruth Edwards back to the front. She was at the very back of the race, and I wonder if this rains, she didn't think, you know what, I'm just going to scoot on up to the front now. Beautiful start finish video right here on Canal. This will be the same start finish line for the road race on Sunday. They come down and finish right along the Canal River here.
with 2 big climbs on tap for the road race, but thankfully for the Criterium racers, they don't have to deal with that today.
That's right.
Good shot of that little bump on the backside of the course here. So sort of a reset right now. We are just about halfway through. 75 minutes on tap today. You see Ryan up to the front with her sister, Alexis Magner, just behind her. So as they make a general reset here, I think a good time to take a break here on FloBikes. When we come back, we'll have the conclusion of our Women's Elite Criterium race after this short break from the 2024 USA Cycling Criterium National Championships.
That corner was very crucial in the 1923. 5 or 6 minutes into the race, those riders that are trying to stack in there was a pretty big crash, a pretty big split. We had almost half the field into the pit at one time yesterday, just a handful of minutes into the race. So there you can see how the Jello rider's taking that wide, and it's that outside corner where the apex is set up in the outside corner. It can feel a little wonky, and so riders got to be careful there, otherwise, multiple bars might need a different line for you, a different choice through there. So that is going to be a pivotal part of our race today. So another reset going on right now. It went hard for the last few laps, and now
Welcome back. Front of the race, rolling back through at 41 minutes into our 75-minute race tonight. Found human-powered health. And the Williams Racing Devo duos getting up to the front here. DNA starting to sit back a little bit after being very aggressive early on here, and also seeing some Goldman Sachs ETF jerseys coming up to the front. Brad Soner here with Lauren Hall for our Criterium National Championships. Tonight, our elite women on course right now, and our elite men coming up after this here on FloBikes. And really just watching the reset right now. If you were with us for the first half, you saw a few attacks. We just watched Shannon Koch, the last rider to get away, spent a couple laps away solo. Now back in the mix and just waiting for the next one.
DNA Pro Cycling moving up the right-hand side there. That's an attack.
Yep. Kaya Schmidt followed the wheel up and then decided to slot in.
Maybe that wasn't an attack. Maybe that was just a, I'm going to go to the front very aggressively right now.
I see some riders out of the saddle up at the top, so see if they open any gaps. Definitely some power up at the front right here. I mean, this is really a selection 10 deep. These are all favorites up here.
No doubt. And you actually see Lily right there kind of sitting up. She's got Ruth up there, and she's like, you know what, I'll let that go. It's well represented. It's got some of the bigger teams represented up there. Put some pressure back and behind you. You've got Corinne back there. So, yeah, that's a savvy race move by Lily. It's all back together, though. Riders are pretty quick to pick up on that. Ruth putting a little bit of pressure to him now.
Yeah, this is your worst nightmare as a Criterium racer, that now Ruth Edwards is going to put some power to the problem at the front of the field.
You better be paying attention right now if you're 10 back.
Oh boy, here you go. Edwards has the capability to drag this field for a solid 3 laps, and if she did this much damage in 15 seconds, imagine what this field's going to look like after a couple laps of the Ruth Edwards treatment.
Kaya Schmidt comfortably in second wheel.
I guess the real worst case scenario is that these riders start working together. Now Kaya Schmidt takes a pole. You get Lily Williams up there do some. Oh, Corinne Lebecki.
Yeah.
Here's another worst case scenario.
Yeah, she's in good position. Corinne says, you know what, I'm going to go for this. Try and pull some more of those top riders out. Let's go ahead and get up the road. That's what's so great about Corinne. She's not afraid to sprint from a peloton or from a break. So, you know, you always have to be keying in on what she's doing and where she's racing and how she's racing. Skylar Schneider basically sitting second wheel and saying, you know what, I'm here. We're represented. DNA Pro Cycling right behind Skylar. Lily Williams right there covering anything after Ruth has just put in an attack.
And you can see the damage that Ruth Edwards did starting right there. Big group of riders going back from the pit, so that must have been an incident out there. That would explain the gap. About a half dozen riders coming in from neutral support here. Let's see if we can figure out what happened there. I didn't see anything on camera, but go back and take a look. Ariel Coy. That's Dr. Coy to you.
Nice.
Recently getting her lab coat and the official title of doctor. Ooh.
This is such a tricky corner, Brad. Oh man, there's so much going on in that corner. It goes from wide road to a tight road. That's one factor. Two, you've got manhole covers. You see all that orange paint. Three, you've got brick pavers. I mean, that is such a technical corner in this race. That's one reason I love this course, is that it is a dynamic course, even though it's more than just a flat course. It's definitely going to throw a wrench into things, and that's where I said at the pre-show is you may not win the race right there, but you can definitely lose it by being in bad position or picking a wrong line.
Field starting to go single file again. Once again, Fount is the one delivering the pain here.
Now you can definitely see the wet road. Still a bit of rain coming down. It's almost a bit of mist. So it's this is where you'll potentially see more of an attacking race. People are not going to want to really roll around in a peloton. It feels a little bit more dangerous being in a peloton. They want to be out by themselves, have that space to move around, pick their line. We'll see if this doesn't change things a little bit.
Andrea Sear moving back up to the front there. Goldman Sachs ETFs. Some riders still coming back in. That's got to be from that earlier crash. Taking a little bit more time to get serviced. And this gap's starting to open up a little more. DNA not looking real worried about it.
DNA does have numbers in this peloton, but they don't want to constantly be the one to bring this back. They don't want everyone to just constantly rely on them to do the work. So either they need to set back and then make an attack and try and jump across, you know, or just kind of play in this poker game of somebody else want to get up here and bring this back and keep the speed up. But right now, Fount Cycling looking pretty off the front right now, getting a bit of a gap.
It's going to be Shayna Palace on the front for DNA, but not quite as aggressive to chase this down as they have been earlier. Rain continuing to come down. Starting to get a little darker out there as well. Some changing lighting conditions may make things interesting as well.
on this number. Elizabeth Dixon here, Fountain Cycling, taking her chances up the road. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, this is a lottery ticket right here. She's got a good gap here. This will be the biggest gap of the day for Dixon.
No doubt. And again, we're talking about some of the Fountain being more of a wild card team. Not quite sure who these athletes are or what their background is, but you better start doing your research real fast if you're back in the peloton, because she's got quite a gap to this group.
Yeah, Elizabeth Dixon is absolutely the kind of rider that the field lets go and then regrets it 20 minutes from now when that gap is beyond repair for them. See CCB looking around for a little bit of help, saying, how about some of the World Tour talent come up here and do some chasing?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see a couple of attacks coming out. There we go, right there to the left.
Question is, do they wait too long to bring back Elizabeth Dixon? So this now basically becomes a 25-minute effort for Dixon trying to get to the finish here. I guess that's the one advantage of running off the timed system here. You have a much better idea of what your effort is going to be in time instead of laps.
She gets to pick everywhere the road that she wants to go, try to be the most efficient move from point A to B.
And now Human Powered Health gets up there. I was going to say the success of this breakaway is really two-part. One, the ride by Elizabeth Dixon, and two, the response by the field, which wasn't quite there until now. They're starting to string out, but all Dixon can do is her part, and a lot of this is going to be up to the response of the field.
That is quite the increase in pace, Brad, when you see that field strung out one by one coming through those corners. Ruth Edwards just put in a big move for Human Powered Health.
Like Dixon was maybe reaching for an earpiece. Saw her hand up near her kind of back and neck area.
It bunched up, and then DNA Pro Cycling is now on the attack.
DNA looks like they want to go across.
Sam Schneider. Nope. Yep.
I think that is. Dixon still working on that earpiece. Not much that you can tell her right now over the radio, but
keep going.
Yeah. Well, pretty soon she's going to be interested in time gaps if that breakaway keeps up. That's probably what she's most interested here. But also want to know if there are any riders coming across to her. This would be worth maybe sitting up just a little bit to let them get up to you, if you know you've got a quality partner on the way up. And really anyone inside the top 10 right now in this field would be a quality partner in the breakaway. Be happy to have any of them with me.
Yep.
Yeah, it's scary for anyone who's ever ridden on these conditions. It's tough to watch without being at least a little scared.
I'm glad we're in the booth and I'm not out there.
There's Dixon and DNA once again shouldering the burden of this breakaway.
Like Heather Fisher right there on the front, on the radio.
This is really good news for the Schneiders and the Ryan Magner duo, because DNA is doing all the work for them. They can sit back and relax here. Dixon now starting to look back over the shoulder. There's a little attack up the left side.
DNA Pro Cycling. So their DNA is getting it close enough and then saying, hey, all right, go send someone across. I'm starting to fade. And they're going to try and bring this back as soon as possible. They got their work cut out for them, though.
Ruth Edwards back up into third. See Stephanie Halamek using the opportunity to move up a little bit on the outside there for Goldman Sachs ETFs. That's the game. Oh,
no.
I saw the fence moving. Looks like some riders going wide into it.
Nobody likes to see that.
Yeah.
Man, that's tough. But that's why Elizabeth Dixon is off the front, right? You know, this is almost the safest place. Again, like I said, you've got all this room to move around. You're comfortable, and you know your limits in your line. Whereas when you're in the peloton, you're kind of at the mercy of others.
Saw how wide she was able to swing for that setup into this corner. It's really this one and I think the one right before it are the two that you're most worried about being in a group. So that'll send some shock waves through the field. The first crash of the night certainly puts a few riders on notice.
Yeah, when you hear that, your instinct and everything in your body, Brad, is saying, you should probably slow down now.
Although not sure if that was we did see a big group of riders coming back in from the pit,
right.
So there may have been another crash that we missed on the cameras earlier, but
right.
Really the first one we saw.
But everything in your competitive brain is like, yep, okay, keep going forward.
We can expect to see some traffic coming in from those neutral support pits here pretty soon, as the riders that want to get back in will be allowed the free lap rule to jump back into this race. Still not showing laps yet.
Eight laps to go.
Oh, yeah, I do see an 8 up there.
Get your eyes checked, man.
I think they just put it up.
Yeah, Elizabeth Dixon, low and arrow as possible, changing from the hoods to the drops. There's a little bit of a wobble there going into that turn.
And all the same suspects up at the front of this field.
Hey, first time we've seen Kendall Ryan to the front. Again, rain always is an added factor. A sprinter, we haven't seen her to the front yet. Wanted to test her legs, getting up there, and on her wheel was Corinne Lebecki.
There's that group going back in. I will say, of all the riders in this field, Kendall Ryan is probably one of the least afraid of rain when it comes to these corners. Arguably one of the best bike handlers in this field. Certainly the most Criterium experience in this front group.
Sprinters are a different breed, Brad. It's I don't know what it is. You just feel super comfortable on your bike in tricky situations and at high speeds. Yeah, so you kind of welcome a little bit of a mix-up and a little bit of sweat. It brings just makes you feel good. I don't know what that is.
How much does Corinne Lebecki's Euro experience translate here? I mean, we know that Kendall Ryan has these American corner handling skills, but Lebecki racing in Europe a lot. Does that work in the United States? Does that help you in an American-style Criterium like this?
I think when you're good, no matter if it's crits or World Tour or whatnot. You know, Corinne, Kendall, you know, Lily, Ruth, a lot of these women that we've talked about already are just good bike handlers, bike racers, and it doesn't matter the course or, you know, the cornering, they're good. They've got the confidence, they've got the skills. So, wow, that was a close push-in right there. My gosh. Ooh. You don't have skills to just watch out for that, but good neutral support push back in right there for that lady.
See, it's starting to get a little darker out there as well. Some dark clouds moving in. The sun setting here in Charleston as well. They do have plenty of light towers around this course, but the changing conditions you were saying earlier is what really affects you most.
Yeah, another piece of equipment that we haven't even talked about is, eye protection. And I mean, it's supposed to be daytime, the sun doesn't set for a bit, and that's a factor in racing. If you can't see very well, if you've got sunglasses on that aren't clear, it adds a factor. You can't see where you're going. It gets a bit tricky, and sometimes you'll see riders just toss their glasses because it's worth getting a little bit of rain or muck in your eye than it is to not be able to see clearly. Elizabeth Dixon right here off the front, Fountain Cycling, not really worried about that right now.
Well, this is really just a math problem for Elizabeth Dixon right now. 7 laps, gap at about 15-20 seconds. She knows how much she can give up here, but the wild card will be the response from the field. It's going to be up to riders like Megan Easler on the front here for DNA Pro Cycling. Kaya Schmidt right behind her. Plenty of firepower to bring back Elizabeth Dixon if they're willing to use it.
Elizabeth Dixon is not in the running for the U23 jersey, but that is a factor tonight. Another added dynamic to this race is that they will also award a U23 jersey to one of the women in this peloton. Chloe Patrick won it last year. I'll be keying in on her. She's just a product of good racing. She was third on the stage in national championships last year. So be looking for Chloe Patrick. Michaela McPherson, also someone to be keying in on that U23 jersey. So, you're 6 laps to go. There are 2 races happening. U23 is looking around for their competitors. And, the Criterium National Championship is on the line, period, for elites. So we've got some really good racing coming up in these last 6 laps.
Gap is up to 20 seconds now for Dixon. She's got all the room in the world to work with here. She is still in sight of the front of the field on this section. There is one section where she goes out of sight, but they do still see her up the road on these longer sections of the course. Ruth Edwards going to do some work to bring it back. We're in the same 8, 9, 10 names over and over on the front of this field doing all the work. I have to think there's a rider that's been sitting in here thinking about how great this is, that the same riders keep doing all the work on the front of the field.
Right, a Kaya Schmidt that we've only mentioned a couple of times. She's always been in good position, but never on the front. We've only seen Corinne at the front once. We've only seen Kendall Ryan at the front once. Alexis Magner, Chloe Patrick, Lily Williams. There's a host of riders that are going to make these last couple of laps very interesting.
So Shayna Powless up to the front now. Skylar Schneider right on her wheel. These are some new names coming to the front, putting their nose in the wind. They've been at the front. They just haven't been doing work. Again, this is what it's going to take to bring back Elizabeth Dixon. Her best case scenario right now is that these riders just mistime it. They underestimate the strength of Elizabeth Dixon in these closing, what will be 5 laps as they come through. And if they don't put enough effort into bringing this back, Elizabeth Dixon's got a shot at being the upset of the week here in Charleston.
Keep in mind, Elizabeth won the last stage of Gila. She is a strong rider. That is one of the hardest stages in North America. So she definitely has the ability to go long. And I don't know if that peloton knows that result or not, or they have quickly forgot, because Gila was just a couple of weeks ago.
Well, this gap's starting to come down. Ruth Edwards back to work up here. This is kind of what I was talking about with Fountain. Someone like Dixon up here. Edwards and Williams from that Human Powered Health team would have no idea who Elizabeth Dixon is. They didn't race Gila. They weren't at Redlands, didn't do any of those early season American races.
Do you want to know what Elizabeth's background is?
What's that?
Trained ballerina.
Really?
So she can dance on those
There
pedals.
Use a little bit of that ballerina finesse through the corners here.
I'll laugh at my own jokes.
I like it. It was good. It was good.
Right there, we just saw Corinne taking her sunglasses off. Again, that's you can really hone in on these last couple of laps now. Sometimes you'll see sprinters tightening their buckles on their shoes, little nuances. Oh, excuse me, I'm going to hand those off. Wow. Nice. Okay, good move.
Too nice to toss. See, Dixon's out of sight here, but he'll be able to see her out of the next corner. Still 5 laps to go. I don't think those riders are panicking. They've got a much better idea and feel for what this gap is and what's manageable right now. The fact that I'm not seeing those big teams really panicking, like if it was really a problem, DNA could put a bunch of riders on the front here and try and tack it back. So they must believe that this is still doable.
They could, and they probably will, but depending on the weather, that can prove quite a factor because you can really only drive the pace so fast. Every corner basically has a speed limit that you can ride your bike through until things get a little out of control, and then even more so, a lower speed limit in the rain. But, this gap is nothing to laugh about. That's why we have Ruth and Lily of Human Powered Health right here at the front. They are concerned. Skylar Schneider sitting third wheel. Goldman Sachs fourth wheel.
Gap coming down a little bit. Lost a few seconds, down to 14 seconds here. So it's trending in the right direction for this field. There's DNA on the left side of your picture. That's the train I was looking for.
Beautiful. No need to go to the front yet. If Ruth is going to be up there setting this pace, let her.
Yep. And at this point, starting to look a little more manageable. 20 seconds was kind of right on the edge of being in the danger zone, but once you get down towards 15, that gap becomes much more manageable. 4 laps to go, 15 seconds. Math works out pretty easy. And the important thing to remember here is that there's no real urgency to make this catch before the last lap, because if you do make the catch now, that opens the door to a counterattack, a new rider going away. You would much rather have a tired Elizabeth Dixon out there until 1 lap to go, rather than making the catch at 4 laps to go, and let's say someone like Corinne Lebecki decides to take a flyer. Then you got a problem.
It is hard to time it just perfect for 1, your race plan that you had, and 2, to catch the break, and 3, for anyone to counterattack you. So there's these factors in play, but yeah, let's see if it comes back sooner than later.
Well, at some point, Ruth Edwards has to run out of energy here. She has been the savior of this field, almost single-handedly bringing back Elizabeth Dixon.
Or at least ask for help, and that's where Lily should just back off, fade off just a little bit off of Ruth's wheel. Because, one, Lily, obviously we've seen Ruth do the brunt of the work for the 2 of them tonight. Lily's not really going to want to pull through and pull this back. So she really wants someone to go up there and work with Ruth. Now, yeah, so you just basically lay off, let that gap fill up, and try and slot back in 5th, 6th wheel. And maybe Ruth is very much comfortable just kind of doing this brunt of the work right now.
That'll take Dixon down to 3 laps to go on the counter. Lost a second on that last lap. It's coming back, but is it coming back fast enough here?
A little bit of suffering on Ruth's face there.
There is sort of an exponential drop-off once you get under 10 seconds for a breakaway. That 10 seconds disappears a whole lot easier than the gap from 20 to 10 seconds, let's say. Once it looks feasible to go up across the gap, you'll see riders there, so she's got to keep this above 10. Ruth Edwards looks like she might be feeling it here. How much longer can she do this? Sam Schneider just behind Lily Williams. She's ready to do some work here.
But only if she has to.
Yep.
And like you were saying pre-race, this is a 1 mile circuit. So there's 3 miles to go. And even if that last lap comes and the brake is not caught, it's okay. There is still time. And that's when you're going to see, only in that last half lap, are you going to see the moves are really aggressive, trying to get your sprinter to the front for this last turn. And coming out of that last turn, you want to pull another 100 meters towards the line, because it is a long, long sprint from the finish. And it has this little bit of a chicane from the last corner to the finish line. So another just dynamic in the course that you have to know how to race and be savvy with.
We'll see if we get treated to a sprint tonight or if it's a solo win. Saw a similar scenario to this in the 17-18 junior women's race last night. A solo rider away for the last 5 laps, caught on the final one. Couple riders sliding out here in the rain. And then that's going to cause a chain reaction once riders go down. Now these riders won't get a free lap, and you can see the gap that's opened up. It happened about 20 wheels back. Dixon now down to 8 seconds on the gap. DNA up to the front here. So now Edwards' job is done. DNA going to put in a big effort in this chase.
Megan Easler.
Saw Easler earlier putting some work in. It looks like she's emptying the tank right now to bring Dixon back. She's going to put every watt she's got left in those legs.
Brad, she is all over that bike right now. She wants it back now.
Schneider and Lebecki behind her.
Lebecki just looking over her shoulder, seeing who's on her wheel and if there is a gap, and there is a significant gap.
And it's Lily Williams right behind her. Another big threat here. Now they got Dixon in the crosshairs.
She's still got a good gap to the front.
This will be another scenario where it really is up to the field at this point and how they respond to this.
Megan is pulled off the front for DNA, so I think she is done.
Dixon going to get the bell for 1 lap to go. She's out of the saddle, out of that corner, redoubling her efforts here. So she will start this final lap with at least a little bit of time.
Oh, this is great racing.
Elizabeth Dixon trying to do the impossible here, upsetting some of the biggest names in the sport at the 2024 Criterium National Championship. She's got 1 lap to try to stay away solo.
This would be a huge win for Fountain Cycling, and everyone standing on the side of the road knows it, cheering her on. They want to see her win. She's been off solo for at least 6 laps now. Can Elizabeth hold this field off?
Well, Dixon would add to a storybook season with a win on the final stage, the Queen stage at Tour of the Gila, and then follow up with a Criterium National Championship just a few weeks later. Doesn't get much better than that. Not a lot of urgency back in the field. Good news for Dixon still.
Matter of fact, her teammate just got to the front of the peloton and was on the radio telling her, "Go, Elizabeth, you've got this."
Field spread out all over the road. Dixon into turn 3 now. There's only about 20 riders left after that crash just a couple laps ago. This is the group that's going to make it to the line. Dixon is out of sight into turn 4. Well, Lauren, I think she has done what she needed to do here in Charleston.
You have to stay composed. Keep riding. Stay cautious through these turns.
Oh, it's going to be close. Now the field's starting to pick up the tempo. Dixon down to just 4 seconds into this turn. That's out of 5. She's coming towards the final turn now. One look over the shoulder. That's all they're going to afford her. This one's going to come all the way down the line. Oh, now she is rapidly losing time. On to the finish stretch for Elizabeth Dixon. Crowd is fully behind the Fountain Rider now. Lebecki trying to open up the sprint behind her. Dixon about to have some company on her back doorstep. She looks behind her. Will Lebecki get there in time? She has done it. Corinne Lebecki will upset Elizabeth Dixon, making the catch in the last 10 meters. And Corinne Lebecki will repeat as your Criterium National Champion. The last minute catch by the rider out of Tustin, California, to win another national championship and make it 73 for Corinne Lebecki.
Holy cow, what a long sprint, Brad. Like, Corinne had to just let it go when she could as soon as she saw Elizabeth Dixon through that. When she got through that last turn, oh my gosh, what a long sprint that was, and what a win for Corinne.
Just goes to show you, Lebecki knew exactly what she was doing. I mean, it doesn't get more precise than what we just watched that field do to Elizabeth Dixon.
And again, to be patient and to basically play the game of, is this going to come back or not? What a gamble. And you can tell on her face just how much that win means. It doesn't matter if it's her 73rd win. She wants to win every time she pins a number, and it means so much. So here she is coming back with that jersey again. I guess she's going to have to come to Speed Week again next year.
There you go. Well, that will be Lebecki's 74th national championship after the Criterium National Championship last year.
Some pats on the back for Chloe Patrick, too, of Siniskin. I'm wondering if she is our U23 champion.
Well, Lauren, I don't know if it's heartbreaking or not to see Elizabeth Dixon hold on for second place on the day. She's got a podium to show for her efforts, but that'll be a second place that she's going to think about for an entire season this year.
Loved it. Love it. Wow. So close for Elizabeth.
Lebecki looking for a little bit of love as the champ is back here in Charleston. Some congratulations from Arielle Coy. And Lebecki going to spend another season in the Stars and Stripes jersey. So a victory lap for Corinne Lebecki, your repeat national champion. See if we can go back and take a look at that sprint and see just where she made that catch. It was a little tough for us to see from the front view. You see Lebecki in the pink right there, Elizabeth Dixon in the green, who holds on for second. I think that's the line right there, just at the end of the bricks.
You just see Elizabeth just basically hand on her head like, so close, right at the line.
Well, a historic win for Corinne Lebecki. We're going to take a quick break here from Charleston. And when we come back, we'll try and grab a word with our repeat national champion from the 2024 Criterium National Championships.
What are Gooder sunglasses? 6 sunnies for fixie skidders, $25 sunglasses for your $10,000 road bike, vibrant dirt shields for single-track cyclocross adventures, gnarly no-bounce frames for the MTB trails. Basically, Gooder sunglasses kid out your face.